Hey everybody, it's Rob Scheer, the founder of Comfort Cases and the host of Fostering Change. Wow, it's so hard to believe that we've wrapped up season 5. I am absolutely still in just the awe for the third year in a row to be voted the #1 podcast in foster care and adoption. You know what? It's summertime and it's time to take a break. But the thing that I absolutely love is we get to do the best of during the summer break. This was a real hard one because we only have 6 episodes that we will be airing. So when my team got together, we listened again to podcasts, I skimmed through books again. These are the next 6. And by the way, for any of all the other episodes and all my other guests, and I traveled all over the country, I've interviewed so many people, read so many books, I want to say thank you. You're all the best of. And so this was a really, really hard choice. I hope you all enjoy this interview. Have a great day. It's hard to believe that we are already in fall. You can feel the crisp air. And what I absolutely love is, for those who know, we've got our benefit that's coming up at the end of September. And I'm so excited. Auction items are already going to start being seen online. And, this is one of our biggest benefits for Comfort Cases. But what I really love is the fact that, we're back here again for another episode of Fostering Change. This is hard to believe. It's our 5th season. I am so proud of all my team and how we have done so much and these beautiful awards that, my team has been able to win. But what I'm more proud of are my guests. The fact that I get to talk to some of the most amazing people, that I truly get to come into your radio or I come into your YouTube, and I truly get to help you understand what it is about being a good human. The fact is whether you're a foster parent or maybe you're going through something else, the fact that we can all become a good human is what's so important. And my next guest, she is the definition of being a good human. I actually found Laura a while back following her on social media, and I was just so intrigued. There is nothing that I love more is when people put in content on social media and use it the right way. Now, make sure you understand that you all hear that. We all hear these things about social media and how, taboo at times. But if you use social media in the way that it was built, in the way and the reason it was built, it can truly be a game changer for some people. And for my next guest, that's exactly what she's done. So ladies and gentlemen, those who are watching and listening, please welcome my friend Laura to Fostering Change. Laura, welcome.
Thank you so much. That was such a sweet intro. I'm so excited to be here
Oh my
and
gosh.
chat with you about important topics.
You know what, Laura? I absolutely love the topics that you put out. There's so many questions that I feel that people have when it comes to foster care. There's so many misconceptions
Yes,
when it
yes.
comes to, foster care. And, for me, people know my story. I started in the system. I've been in the system. I aged out of the system. I've adopted 5 beautiful children from the system. But, to have somebody like you come into this, and by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, you literally walked into this blind.
On social media or as a foster parent?
As a foster parent.
Yes, I did not have any lived experiences or any type of connection to foster care. So yes, it was a starting from zero type situation and kind of hit the ground running. I think a lot of
Wow.
people can relate. It's your entire world changes.
So one of the things that when my husband and I became foster parents, one of the things that I really felt, and again, I'm ready for all your emails. I get them all the time, guys, when I get ready to say this, but I felt like there was zero support.
Mhm.
I felt like, you were literally thrown into the lion's den
Yeah.
with, some paperwork that truly did not give what you were getting into.
Mhm.
How was your experience like that? Because for my husband and I, it was really rough.
Yeah, I think that was a huge shock for us. We're taking care of someone else's children, but given such little information about them. And it was shocking that we're held to these extreme standards without a lot of information about the kids and decent training. I think the training is a good to start, but as soon as you actually have kids in your home, you realize, oh gosh, I need a lot more help. I need a lot more training and a lot more support. But no, I remember, kids being dropped off or me picking up kids with very little information and sometimes wrong information about them too.
Yeah, yeah, let's talk about that because that happened well, let me tell you something. That happened to me
Mhm.
as a kid. I came into the system and
Mm.
I came in the system when I was 12 years old. When I was 16 is when my foster parents were finally able to get a copy of my birth certificate and found out that I had been celebrating my birthday on the
Oh
wrong
my goodness.
day.
It's
You
just
know,
heartbreaking. And
so
birthdays are
so
so critical for kids.
well, then we fast forward,
Mhm.
and my daughter arrives 14 years ago. She's 4 years old. Social worker drops her off and says, please meet Maya, and
Mhm.
Makai. And we're given no information whatsoever. We ask, well, what's Makai's middle name? Well, we don't know. Or, what do you mean you don't
Mhm.
know? So we're weeks into being foster parents, brand new foster parents.
Yeah.
Here's a little boy with special needs and a little 4 year old little girl. She comes home from school. Laura, she literally came home with a piece of paper, and on the top of it, the name Amaya was written. And I said,
Mm.
sweetie, I said, the teacher gave you the wrong paper. I said, this is Amaya's. I said,
Mhm.
where's yours? I said, your name is Maya. And she looked at me and she said, Mr. Rob, my name's Amaya. And I
Oh.
said,
Oh.
and she
Oh my
said,
gosh, my heart breaks for you. I know how you felt in that moment. Oh.
oh, she said, my name is Amaya. And I
Mhm.
was just like, sweetie, why have you allowed people to call you Maya? And she says, because that's just what they've been calling me.
Yeah.
And I said, no, honey, your name is Amaya, and we will
Mhm.
always call you that. Now I got a better one for you. Fast forward all the way to 2019. 2019,
Yeah, just
my
here, just recently. Yep.
my 18-year-old son arrives.
Mhm.
We get a copy of his birth certificate. Mind you, I have no idea why the other foster parents that he'd been with had never gotten a copy or why the social
They
worker,
didn't ask. They didn't
nobody
ask.
looked at it.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
come to find out, his birthday, which he had been celebrating it for 18 years on January the 6th, his birthday was actually January the 3rd.
Mm. That's
So,
tough.
Laura, what do you think about those?
It's hard because having some time, some years to reflect, being a foster parent, you can kind of see how that happens. It doesn't make it okay, but from the point of being removed from your family, going through multiple homes, the cracks of child welfare are deep. And these things get pushed down further and further. And without knowing what questions to ask or without doing certain types of advocacy, you don't uncover these things. And, caseworkers are, and I'm not making excuses for anyone. Like this is totally unacceptable, by the way. But, the restraints and red tape and all the pressures, it's happening. And the kids are the ones suffering. It's not
You
okay.
really are.
We're the adults. We should be able to figure this out. And with so many people at those team meetings, I've had team meetings with 15 people and it can be incredibly frustrating. And I will say that, especially for new foster parents, when they run into these incredibly frustrating and disappointing moments, a lot of them want to quit.
Yeah.
And so anyone listening, if you're going to have these moments of frustration, but please power forward,
Power through it. Because I'm going to tell
Got
you
it.
something. Through all of it, I'm going to tell you something. I wouldn't have changed
Mhm.
wouldn't have
Mhm.
changed any of it. As Reese would say, if we can change a child's life for just one day, we've impacted our entire community.
That's
And
true.
I think that that is so, so important. You talk about, the fact that social workers and how, they have such huge caseloads. And by the way, I'm not making excuses for anybody, but
Mhm.
that's the way it's always been.
I
This
know.
this is an industry, and I don't care what anyone says, it's an industry that makes money on the backs of children.
Yep.
It truly, truly does. Because I'm
Mhm.
telling you something, if Chick-fil-A can get that number of people through a line as quickly as they can, we can get the darn child welfare system working better than the way it works.
It is it's crazy that, it's these problems have existed and continue. It's kind of frustrating to talk in circles. I will say we are seeing some places pop up and trying something different and trying new things and
Tell me
you
about that.
know,
Tell me about that. What are you seeing where that's popping up and things are changing? Do you see some or changes are trying to be made?
hmm Well, this is we're seeing this in a lot of places. Are these agencies are coming in to support the counties, and in theory, it is an added level of eyes on a case and accountability. Now we know in states like Texas, there's a lot of things slipping through the cracks there. But where I am in California, I've definitely seen the benefits of having that added level of advocacy and checks and balances.
Yeah.
And then you have states like Connecticut that are making big changes. They have new people in charge and are trying to change the way that kids are identified. Their removal practices are changing. They're putting social workers in schools to help those mandated reporters really understand what they're doing, and fine tuning those skills. And so I think we're seeing some things,
Yeah.
but it's too slow.
I
It's too
agree.
slow and it's not widespread. There aren't a lot of federal policies, and the ones that are put in place have too many loopholes.
I agree. I agree 100% with you on that. And
Mhm.
hearing the states that you're talking about, that we are seeing some changes, even in my state of Maryland where I live,
Mhm.
but the thing is it's a little too late and it's way, way too slow.
Oh, yes. Yes.
It's ridiculous. And the fact that every single state does it differently is the
Yes.
biggest mistake that we make. You know,
Oh,
it's like
yes.
I say the word neglect. 64% of kids are in foster care because of the word neglect, but
Mhm.
neglect is defined differently in every single state.
Yep. It looks and feels and operates differently, and it also from my point of view, makes it very hard to create educational content that's far reaching and can be meaningful to a bigger audience. But you know we have to come together, and we have to find some ways from a federal level to make these sweeping changes that don't have all these loopholes. But it is, you are so right. It is so different. And then, we have kids that are being sent to other states because there's no space for them. And now we have this incredibly complex problem, and it leads to kids getting lost and families not reunifying.
Well, I mean, you look at the fact that right now, I mean, it's common fact that we have 20,000 kids in foster care right now
Mhm.
who are unaccounted for. You know,
Yeah, it's yeah.
that to me is, I mean, seriously, I mean,
Yeah.
written on their file is AWOL, which, by
Mhm.
the way, I was in the military, and AWOL means you deserted. And by the way, these kids did not desert; they are
Mm-mm.
missing. They are
They're
missing.
missing.
And if you look at the factors of children who are trafficked, 80% of the children that are trafficked today are from the foster care system. From
Yep.
the foster care system. You
It's
know,
it's sickening. And I don't know how people how you can't go to bed thinking about them every night. And
I'm like
there's
you.
no excuse. There's no excuse. I mean, but what we're seeing is kids aren't reporting missing because of confidentiality. You're not getting an Amber Alert on your phone every time a child in foster care is missing. Why is that? Why?
Hey, let me tell
Um
you, I share this story with you, and I have not shared this story with many people, and I haven't shared it publicly, but I am going to share this story with you. I have a son who suffers from reactive attachment disorder,
mhm,
and he ran away. And so when he ran away, he was picked up by the police, and the police took him to child welfare. I'm going to tell you something right now. If
mhm,
that child was white, they would have brought
mhm,
it to my front door, like so many other kids who run away. Okay. But because of the color of the skin of my son, he was taken to child welfare. And it
mhm,
was then the whole drama role that we had to go through. And it was like, I couldn't believe this. I was like,
mhm.
here I have a child who has been diagnosed by a clinical doctor, what
In
he's
treatment or getting therapy, I'm
getting
sure.
therapy, getting therapy,
Mhm,
and instead you now traumatize him by taking him to child welfare because he ran away because he has RAD. And it's just
mhm.
like, this is the system that we continue to keep seeing breaking down. And again, I listen, for those who are listening, let me tell you something. there's nothing more rewarding. As I was sitting just last night on the football field watching my son catch that football, it's a rewarding thing to be a parent.
Mhm.
It is. So I don't want everybody to think this is all bad. And but I also, Laura, I'm a realist.
Yes, you have to be. We gotta talk about it. Because,
Yeah.
like, if you don't, if we I think too often in the marketing messages, we are painting, you know, foster care is cute and, "Oh, foster to adopt, and let's, all this beauty." And there are so many beautiful moments of parenthood and caring for kids. But, I appreciate, and it's one of the reasons why I enjoy listening to you is because you are real. And let's be realistic about what's
Yeah.
happening. So,
And you know what? Let me tell you something. I have, there's highs and there are lows. And one of the
mhm,
highs yesterday, my daughter Amaya and my son Makai's their bio mother, she texted me last night and she was like, hey, she's like, what are you guys doing? Oh, over the weekend? She's like, I was thinking about coming up and spending the weekend. I have a great relationship with her.
good. Yeah.
Mean, we have a
It's
because
possible. Mhm,
yeah, I tell people that it is possible.
mhm,
It is possible. And what it teaches our children, that we all fall at one time within our life.
mhm.
Okay. But it's up to us as a community to lift that person up. One of the questions I have, Laura, is, that I keep pondering on is, I mean, I already know foster care doesn't work, first of all. Secondly, I think that where we make the biggest mistake is by allowing the nucleus of the family to be destroyed in the first place.
Yeah.
I,
Mhm.
you know, when you're talking about 64% of kids coming in because of the word neglect. Now, again, let me tell you something. I'm not talking about black eyes, and I'm not talking about
Mhm.
kids who, corporal punishment. I'm talking about the neglect. And the
Mhm.
neglect all is that gray area
Yes.
of
Mhm.
not able to pay for daycare, so they had to leave the child at home.
Mhm.
They didn't have enough food in the pantry, so the kid went to school and said, "My mommy's not feeding me."
Mhm.
They didn't have they weren't able to pay their electric, so they've been without electric for a month. I mean, those are the neglect
Yes.
reasons that kids are coming in.
Yeah, or just unstable housing. I
In
know where I
housing.
am, we see that a lot because finding places within a shelter that allows children is quite difficult.
So then why we as a society pay a stranger money to take care of someone's child when if we would just give that family a lift. You know what I think we should do, Laura? I think we should start having foster families where a
Mhm.
family goes into a family and stabilizes them.
Yeah.
Remove anybody.
I think that there are, I mean, I've seen, like, for example, I've seen sober living facilities that have children, that have case management and, security on site. There's rules, guidelines. And I think, when I have experienced that with a family, and it really piqued my interest because there was something to that felt way more stable and way healthier
Yeah,
than complete severing and removing, because that's a whole other piece of trauma that has to now be reconciled and repaired. And so I do think that there is something, there are some organizations that will intervene earlier. The problem is there's so much fear
that's
with social
exactly.
services, which, by the way, is legitimate, that families aren't as willing to go to doctors because they're worried. They're not going to seek out therapy, they're not going to seek out support because they're worried that, in 1 minute the kids are gone.
Yeah, yeah,
And I don't blame them for feeling that way, and I don't have the answer of how we repair that. I think
right.
that's
Yeah,
a
I think
that's a
that I
big a
think we've
big thing.
already crushed that
Yeah,
so bad that I don't even know if that could ever be repaired.
I don't know.
I really don't. I look at the fact, and again, I look at, and I can only go by my only experience and
Mhm.
the experience of people that I've interviewed. But I sit down and talk with my kid's bio mom, and it's like, this, she should have never lost her kids. I mean,
Mhm.
simple as that. I mean,
That's heartbreaking.
and it is, you look 14 years later, and I'm so thankful that we have a great relationship, and we have a great relationship with aunts and uncles, and
Good.
my
Yeah.
husband and I have really tried to instill that, but it's just sad that I felt like the system did exactly the opposite of what
it was supposed to do. And then, you look at these kids who are aging out, I mean, all of a sudden, we come in this white shiny horse and we are saving this child. But as soon as that kid turns of age,
Mhm.
it's like, bye.
Oh, I've had some of the kids I've cared for, their parents were former foster youth. And, we failed them. To me, when that happens, we failed. You know,
Yeah,
there are kids just like all of the babies and toddlers and all the ages that we care for. They're just as fragile and as important. And we should be wrapping our arms with nurturing care around them.
I agree.
There's this new concept that I've been hearing more and more that people are talking about. Instead of, mandated reporting, we have mandated supporting.
Oh, I
Did I
love
say
that.
that right? Reporting instead of and then supporting.
I love
Yeah.
that.
You should look it up. And I'd be curious, for our next conversation, what you think. But this idea of what should the action, what's the step that we're taking instead of just making a phone call? Yes, those things are important. Kids need to be removed from unsafe situations. But what should we as community members or as bigger entities like our schools, our doctors, what's the support that
Right.
should be required in those moments to continue to wrap our arms around our community members, our neighbors?
Yeah. Yeah. I truly do believe that same thing. I truly believe that, we should be stepping in before that happens. One of the
Mhm.
other questions that I have for you, and I can't believe this time has gone by so fast. I could just talk with you
I
all
know.
day. And it's so
Same, same.
every time I look, I'm just like, I can't believe we've talked to this long. But one of the things that I really one of the things that struggles my heart is the fact of reunification. I
Mhm.
truly believe in reunification,
Yeah.
but I believe that with the whole Family First Act, and again, all the emails are going to come,
Mhm.
that we're seeing, and it's been documented, we're seeing the boomerang kids, and
Mhm.
these are kids who are coming back and back into the system, out and in and out.
Yeah.
It-
Mhm.
where do we, I think there just comes a point where we have to be adults. And if you
Mhm.
cannot adult and be the parent, it's not fair. I mean, I think that's just as much traumatizing as the kid coming into the system.
Yeah. Well, and they lose hope in adults through all of it as well. There's so much promise when a kid enters care and then when a kid leaves care. There's so much promise. And if we're not fulfilling those promises, it's just incredibly damaging to children and their families.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
that there's a lot of steps that I think we can take, and it goes back to support. How can we support these families after reunification? That is supportive, not removals.
Right.
I've seen some courts doing extended like transition plans or extended stays where kids are doing a 14-day stay or a 30-day stay with their parents as, you know, just kind of not a trial period. Is I don't love that term. I got to think of a better one for that. But it ensures that the foster parents still engaged in
Right.
helping. It ensures the case management team is still there to support. Maybe that will help. I don't know. Time will tell.
I truly think that, some of the things that we could change immediately is, when parents have, 1 hour visitation a week, supervised, that's
Yeah.
BS to me. That's total BS. You're breaking bonds by that 1 hour. I think we should be able to allow, and my husband and I actually, we petitioned the court to
Hmm.
allow us to be licensed supervising
Yeah.
because we wanted the birth
More.
parents to be able to see their kids call, hey, on a Saturday, you want to go to the park with us? You want to, I mean, it didn't work for us because they ended up not taking advantage of that. But I think
But the option being there, absolutely. I
that needs
think,
to change.
yeah. And I think that, the more that we can lean in and be partners through all of this with our families can help. Of course, that is not going to be suited for all family
Of course
units,
not.
but that shouldn't be the reason to not try,
But
right?
not everybody likes broccoli. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. We should at least be making some attempts. And I think, there are visitation centers that are changing. They're trying to have kitchens and dining areas and playgrounds. Like, so it is a little bit more nurturing. But again, as we said at the very beginning of the conversation, it's so little.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
So
everyone's celebrating these small wins, and I don't want to discount them because we need the small wins, but we need sweeping
we
changes.
need sweeping
Yeah.
changes.
Mhm.
I agree with you. And I truly do believe that one of the things that we should do, and you and I have had this with the exact thing, I think we talked about this before, where I think everybody needs to come to the table.
Yeah.
I think that this whole everybody disconnected, you got your guardian ad litem over here, your CASA over here, you got the parents over here, you got the foster parents over here, the social workers back there, and there's the kid sitting in the middle of the table saying, what the hell do I do?
Mhm.
I think needs to happen is everybody comes to the table and they say, now, what is the best for this child? And how can we get the best for the parents? And I think that if we would stop with this, you're the foster parent, you're the parent, and you're separated instead of,
Yeah.
listen, I want you to have your kid back. You know, I
Yes.
want you to have your kid back. So
Mhm.
let me help you. You need a ride to drug treatment. I'm going to take you. I'm going to stand there. That to me is what I really am hoping that we will see when it comes to change.
Yeah. And the research supports that. We have talked about this. These icebreaker sessions and these ongoing family meetings can make I've seen it happen to me personally. You know, I've participated in those meetings, and it can make a significant difference on the family and the child.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe we'll see a lower statistic of kids in our juvenile detention centers and a
Mhm.
higher statistics of kids graduating from high school within our
Yes.
system, because the numbers that we have been delivered just recently are absolutely heartbreaking.
Mhm.
And, and we'll end this by saying Nelson Mandela said it. You judge your society on the way you treat your children, on the way you treat your children. And so if you just look here in the United States of America, how we treat our children that are in a foster care system, we failed. Listen, Laura, it has
Yes.
been an amazing conversation. I
Yes. Thank you
cannot.
for having me.
Oh my gosh, you are coming back, my friend. You are coming back.
Yes.
We have so much more to talk about.
Yeah.
Listen, everybody, do me a big favor, go out there and really share some love and really educate yourself. Because if in your heart you're even thinking about becoming a foster parent, you've already made the first step.
I
And
was gonna
that
say
to
it's
me
only gonna grow from there.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. It will only grow from there. This is another episode of Fostering Change. I hope you got as much out of it as I
I
did.
did.
Please,
Yes.
make sure you spread the love, share this, and we'll talk again next time. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.